Hello, for this video, I'd like to talk about why the left like to be thought of as atheists. And first I'd like to consider what atheism means and what's significant about that. Most would say that atheism just refers to people who don't believe in God. This, in my view, is one of these times when words are used to prevent communication rather than to facilitate it. Because nobody either believes in God or doesn't believe in God in a vacuum in that way. Almost always, a belief is associated with a theology or a set of religious teachings or ideas. And almost always, a disbelief in God is a rejection of religion or some religious writing or teaching. The one significant distinction from this that I can think of is the case of the deists, or people who identify with that type of thought. These are people who don't believe in religion, but they stipulate, in my mind diplomatically, the existence of God, but they believe that reason is the path to God, and so they don't believe in faith. So concerning oneself with whether a person believes in God or not, in that narrow description, is really a meaningless exercise. There's really no need for a word that describes that condition. And this is significant because we do really need a word that describes a different condition that we really don't have a single word that describes. What we need to talk about is whether or not a person is capable or willing to adhere to the rules of reason in a given sphere of communication. Leftists and Christian conservatives often like to think in general terms that leftists are atheists. Leftists like this because they stereotypically often hate Christianity. And they think of themselves as the reasonable people. These are the people who respect science, while these backward Christians believe that the earth is a few thousand years old, etc. This is the meme. This is obvious nonsense, however. The left care nothing of reason. There's not a single policy that they support or put forth that can be supported with reason. Every one of their ideas requires a level of faith that most Christians will never approach. They can know that their ideas have caused the unnatural deaths of 100 million people in the 20th century. And they still march forward to impose these ideas on millions more without the slightest lack of confidence or self-reflection. You must really believe that your idea is going to work this time around if you're willing to take that kind of a risk. That's what faith is. Either that or you're just an evil prick, which is the case among the leaders of the left, certainly. The bulk of them are probably just ignorant, haven't thought that much about their ideas for whatever set of reasons. The left are not reasonable. They're shockingly religious. And so this is where the Christian conservative falls into this trap of yielding the stereotype of reason to the left willingly. It's as if they're ready to yield reason to the left as in the process of defending their faith. And this is, the left knows this, and this is what they do. They have conditioned the right into disrespecting the separation of church and state. Those are Jefferson's words in describing the First Amendment. They taunt Christian conservatives with their fake atheism, when the truth is that it's the separation of church and state that is the only defense, certainly the best defense, against leftist ideology. And I'm going to detail why that is in a coming video when I focus on the Constitution and how the Constitution can be analyzed as a computer program, and we'll see how that works. And one illustration of this idea I'm trying to get across here, it goes all the way back to Bill O'Reilly, back when he was watchable about 20 years ago. But even then, he used to say he would frame this great struggle we're in as the traditionalists versus the secularists. That's just bad analysis. It's as simple as that. Every single human being who respects the Constitution of the United States is a secularist at least insofar as he has the capacity to participate in the society that's governed by that secular document. No, this is not about the traditionalists versus the secularists. That's the wrong way to draw the line. That's the wrong way to analyze the differences between people. This is a struggle between those who respect reason and those who don't respect reason. But it's not necessary for a Christian conservative, in my view, to yield reason to the left in order to defend his faith. This is the unnecessary fatal flaw. I look at it this way. I'm more in line with the deists. I don't believe in faith. I only believe in reason. But faith is always a conscious choice. All the beliefs we have that are not faith-based are not things that we choose. These are beliefs that come about because there's an involuntary reaction to a series of stimuli that come before that. A person believes naturally according to the application of reason to experience. The first time you touch a hot stove, you get a powerful set of data to draw from in the future. In order to exercise faith, you have to know, therefore, when you're stepping out of the realm of reason. And that means that you need a good understanding of reason in order to know where that line is drawn. And I bet there are lots of Christian ministers who might comment below that they agree with that. And so a good Christian, in my opinion, would have to understand reason in order to know when he is exercising faith. But that gives him the opportunity to participate in a secular society and to respect the Constitution and to respect the separation of church and state. A Christian would at least have the capacity to do that. You no longer have to allow the left to get away with calling themselves atheists. They can't be atheists if every one of their political views are founded in dogma. If you can destroy every one of those views with the most cursory of logical review, which is exactly the case, then the left aren't truly atheists. Not being a Christian doesn't mean that you're an atheist. You have to not ascribe to any set of dogmatic beliefs, in my view, to really hold just claim to that title. Politics has always been a war of memes, as every side battles to get the upper hand on the narratives that influence voters and legislators. If we want to defeat the left once and for all, we have to destroy the meme that the right are the dogmatic ones, and the left are the secular ones. Every time a leftist points out his atheism or attacks Christianity, the proper rebuttal is not to attack atheism, and therefore attack many of your fellow conservatives who also happen to be atheists. It's to brand the left and their views as religious, and to back that up by illustrating how unreasonable and unscientific their views are with every opportunity that you have. Tell them how many of your fellow conservatives are the real atheists, and illustrate that you have camaraderie among atheists. The United States was a partnership of deists, a form of atheism in my view, and the Christians. This was not a problem in 1776, 1792, in that era. It was an age of the Enlightenment, and reason was sort of in vogue in that era. Tell the left that they're not going to get away with calling themselves atheists, and tell the left that the separation of church and state will be used to prevent the left's religious ideas from influencing law. This will be something they've never heard before, and then you can just sit back and watch their tiny little heads explode. Thank you, and looking forward to the next video on the Constitution. Thanks.